had a hodgepodge of plant pathology topics today. I think, fresh on everyone's mind is tar spot and getting the application timing right. So getting to really hone in on wanting to protect that ear leaf and making a wise application around where tar spot is in the canopy. If we see 1 or 2 lesions in the lower canopy, we don't need to be panicking. We just need to be monitoring so that we can come back and make that timely application that's going to get the corn through the R3 or R4 growth stages. I suspect that tar spot is going to be slow to progress right now because we're in July, and I kind of like to think of tar spot like us. It likes air temperatures like we like air temperatures. It doesn't like hot, so it's still there, but growing slower than it would if we had the cooler temperatures. And then what I anticipate and what has typically happened in Missouri is that as we get into August and it starts to cool down a little bit and then we get the irrigation turned on, those two things lead to kind of an outbreak at that point. So if our corn is to the full dent stage or to even the dent stage, then it's more about, well, this looks bad, but not about yield losses at that point. So just getting the corn to that point before tar spot takes off.
Corn leafhopper is an invasive species in the United States, and we know it was active in Texas since earlier this year, and they made up to Oklahoma last month, and yesterday we spotted corn leafhoppers in Lawrence County, Missouri, more specifically in Mount Vernon, in a corn trial that I had out there. At this point, what I advise farmers to do is really to go out in the field and scout their cornfields. So we can use different approaches to scout for the presence of corn leafhoppers in cornfields. One is the use of yellow stick cards like this one. So farmers put down the field and check. So the adults are attracted to the corn leaf, to the yellow color, and there's a glue here, so you're gonna capture the insects. The other is looking directly into the corn plants. You might see some, and then you want to capture if you suspect it's a corn leafhopper, and then correctly I didn't. You could also use a hand vacuum, so with like a jar on the back, so you suck it up the insects, and then you have that big small pot that you can identify later. Or alternatively, you could use a sweep net like this one, depending upon your what stage your corn is. You can do ups and downs like this, or if it's not as taller than this one, you could potentially go over like this. And you hold this, and then you can put in a plastic bag, put in the freezer, because they're very mobile, and it helps with the identification. We had other leafhoppers that also are present in corn, but there are some characteristics that differ from the corn leafhoppers. So my advice to farmers is go out in the field and scout their fields for the presence. If corn is really in the early growth stages, they may consider an insecticide application. They should consult their crop consultants to get any recommendations on that. If corn is at tasseling stage or R1, R2, I would be less concerned. The more concerned I'll be is at early corn growth stages, and really farmers have to go out there and scout for the presence before taking any management decisions into consideration. Corn leafhopper is known to vector 4 different pathogens. 2 are bacterial pathogens, spiroplasma and phytoplasma, and 2 are viruses. Last year we confirmed the presence of spiroplasma in Missouri. That's a bacterial pathogen. I know my colleagues in Texas, they have detected this year 3 pathogens, 2 bacterial and 1 virus pathogen. The key aspect of managing this is look into the insect. We don't have any management strategy for the disease. It takes about 30 days from when the insect infects a corn plant with the disease for the symptoms to show up. So if a farmer see the symptoms in the field, it's kind of too late to take any management approach. So the focus for this insect pest has to be on the insects rather than the disease.
Another one that we focused a lot on was soybean cyst nematodes. So our recent statewide survey indicated that 90 3% of the samples that we processed from about 30 Missouri counties were positive for soybean cyst nematode, and that the number of SCN or the densities are increasing. So of those 93%, 92% of those had SCN at about 200 SCN eggs per 100 cc soil, and that's a threshold we use because it's not high, but it's starting to get high. So just monitoring levels. So understanding that it is a problem, it's growing in the areas that it's in, and SCN is increasing. How are we going to best steward our genetics to protect us from continuing to increase? And so talking a little bit about incorporating a commercial soybean variety with peaking into your corn and soybean rotation, where we have traditionally used what's called PI 88788 resistance, which has been in our commercial varieties for about 30 years now. Yeah, so Missouri Soybean Merchandising Council has been really good to us, and they have allowed us to do SCN testing for farmers in Missouri. So we're doing a project right now with a grad student, Jeff Barazone, who is looking at surveying throughout Missouri soybean fields for SCN. And also other plant parasitic nematodes. So we give a lot of focus to soybean cyst nematode, but there are other nematodes out there, so getting a baseline on what some of those other nematodes are. And so last year we were able to sample from 35 counties, I think, and so we have a few more to go, and are hopeful we'll cover those this fall.